Welcome back, everyone. We're here to talk about and run a game or two with Mono Blue Belcher. This is kind of what I started off with. If you want to hear about the deck in depth, I will link a primer in the description. But just to real quick go over, I had to sort these by a tag here because it's confusing. There are no lands in the deck, but we do play 24 of the modal lands. One thing of note here is I'm doing a split between Waterlogged Teachings and Celundi Vision. I think Sink in the Stupor is one of the best ones, hands down, because of its interactive and being untapped. Baying Veil is the best tapped land, especially against energy decks. It essentially becomes a time walk. Seagate and Hydroelectric Specimen remain 4 of us because they are untapped lands, and we really need an untapped land, especially on turn 4. Most of the time, if we want to live long enough to, win. And then Jawari Disruption is probably the second best interactive tap land. And then that's where Celundi Vision is still good, but Waterlogged Teachings, I think, is better. It was better when Grief was something we wanted to tag with our Disrupting Shoal because it is a 4 CMC card, but it also still hits things like Karn. And a few other key cards from opponents' decks. And we have a lot of 3-drops already in the Specimens, Sink into Stupors, Force of Negations, and Harbingers. So our only other 4-drop is Selective Memory or Subtlety itself. So the 4 of Preordain and 4 of Bloom are pretty standard now. I was trying to run some Giga Drowse main. I decided not to. I am doing the 1 of Floodmaw here instead of the 4th Snapback. Just like the flexibility there. Obviously, you can't cast it for free, but the upside is it can hit something like, a Pithing Needle that someone used Urza Saga for, or something like that. If you aren't familiar at all with the deck, we're going to win with Goblin Charbelcher, which does whatever amount of cards are left in our deck worth of damage because it doesn't see any lands, or Selective Memory allows us to exile our entire deck, leaving just a Thassa's Oracle. Usually is the last card, sometimes 2 Thassa's Oracle against Kozilek's Command, or some other weird piles against decks that can interact with Thassa's Oracle. Our Secret Other Win Con can sometimes be Harbinger of the Seas, which locks people out of the game long enough for us to just beat them down with Harbinger or Subtleties, or get to a Charbelcher eventually. We have lots of free interaction because we get to play all blue cards, essentially, besides our Belchers and Lotus Blooms. Subtlety, Snapback, and Force Negation all have free cast. Oh, and Shoal. All can cast for free by exiling blue cards from your hand. Again, if you're not familiar, the primer will go into depth about each of these, but Snapback returns a creature, Subtlety doesn't counter, but hits a creature or planeswalker spell while it's on the stack, and that's put it on top or bottom. Force of Negation exiles a non-creature spell, and Disrupting Shoal can just counter spells, and you have to exile a card with equal value as the spell. Most of these are going to be played as lands, but obviously, like I said before, you have some pretty good interactive pieces here. Bloom lets us go off on turn 4 if we have it in our opening turn, which is very powerful. Sideboard, Brazen Bower is a very flexible one. Commandeer is a powerful one, especially against something like Karn. We actually sideboard out one of our Charbelchers in Karn decks because we can steal the Karn and then get our own Charbelcher back. Flusterstorm and Giga Drowse are anti-control decks. Harbingers we can go up to 4 of in decks where this can be a real win con. Extra into the Flood Mobs, which are catch-all. Jace is a win con with Selective Memory that can't be consigned to memory. As well as can maybe sometimes steal a game against a mill deck. The 4 Snapbacks here in the matchups where we want it, we're taking out something like Force of Negation or Subtlety. Usually the matches we want to keep Force Subtlety, and sometimes when Harbinger is bad, we bring in that Snapback and that into the Flood Maw to interact with energy. Spellstare and Stern Scolding are our counter spells of choice, along with the 1 Flusterstorm. Again, there's a lot of 1-mana counter spells. I'm liking this split right now. Stern Scolding hits everything in energy except for Flage. Spellsnare hits most threats in energy. Hits Frog. Hits basically everything that matters in Modern, but. We'll go ahead and queue up. I did do one game off. It was to Aspiring Spikes Frogless, so it's playing Basim, Frog, Tamio, and Tassiger as threats. Has Mox Ambers and plays like baubles. It's just it's a faster frog deck with more threats instead of trying to play the control long game with a Murktide finisher. It's a little harder for us to beat because against the other decks, if we can keep frog off the table, we can win the long game. This deck, we have to keep frog and Basim off the table as well as Tamio because of the card advantage, and then Tassiger comes out as a 1-mana threat on like turn 3. There's a lot more things we're supposed to interact with. It was still a close match. He beat me because he drew 3 of his consigns in the top 18 cards in game 2. If any of them had been another counterspell, I could have gotten through. Here we are. We are not on the play. We rolled a 5. They rolled a 6. This hand is not keepable. Well, it could be in a certain matchup where Snapback and Subtlety are good. If I knew that like this would set them back a bunch. The problem is 2 lands is pretty low in a deck that wants to cast 4 mana cards. It's worth taking a mulligan here. This hand is unfortunately worse. We only have 1 land. And again, it's one thing that like you have to get used to playing a deck that technically plays 0 land. This is the only one. You know, like you get used to just seeing a handful of spells, but we play spells that are lands. This deck does not mulligan particularly well, so we are going to keep this one. The question here becomes, do we want to keep Preordain to try to get to our combo piece, or do we want to keep Interaction? I am going to put the Snapback underneath. There are quite a few matchups where this kind of doesn't have text. Subtlety is a little more flexible, and we're going to keep 1 Preordain. We want to keep our lands, and obviously our lands also can be Interaction. Jawari is the one we will play last. We're not gonna pass priority because if they happen to try to turn one like Ocelot or Guided Souls, I think we're probably just gonna subtlety that. But we'll see what the opponent does. Delighted Halfling. This is likely a Yawgmoth deck. I think we let that resolve. It's kind of a who can combo first. They're not putting a ton of pressure on us with just like combat damage typically. So I think we're going to go ahead and take 3 to get a Preordain off to try to set up. We also, if we saw a Lotus Bloom here, right, we'd take that. But I think we're at bottom. We already have 4 lands. We don't particularly need more. Okay. Decent amount of interaction in our hand, but if we don't have our combo pieces, that's pretty much what the rest of our deck is. The other thing is our deck doesn't shuffle pretty much ever, which is just very strange for modern decks. So like our scrying is very relevant. The cards we put on the bottom will remain on the bottom. We're not going to subtlety this. We want to hit, obviously, something like Yawgmoth, but we want to hit what is it? The Planeswalker, the 3-mana insect dude. The question is here if I want to bolt myself again to hold up Jawari Disruption. Or play something tapped. I think I will. If we tag something like a Chord of Calling would be great here. It is a lot of damage, but like I said, they're not actually putting... For a deck that plays mostly creatures, they don't really use combat damage that often. Most of the deck essentially has 1 power. Until they're just killing you with infinite damage and drawing all the cards. Not the best start. But the fun part of the deck is like, if we stall out the board until we have 7 lands in play, we can just top deck a win. You can technically win with 7 mana with Selective Memory as well, but it requires you to have a Preordain as well as Selective Memory. And we're probably not holding on to a Preordain. We did bottom one. I don't think we have any other ways to draw on the main. Because with 7 mana, you can cast Selective Memory, cast the Preordain to then draw the Thassa's Oracle as the last card in the deck, and then cast the Thassa's Oracle. But obviously, with Goblin Charbelcher, you can just cast it and activate with 7 mana. Opponent is taking a long time here. We are technically down on clock because we took longer to select our starting hand. Not really sure. Okay, they're casting something. 2 mana black instant. What would they be? Oh, Orcish Bowmasters. Again, we're not drawing a lot of extra cards, so I'm not too worried about this. I'd rather save the Jawari and the Subtlety for things that are killing us faster. I mean, this does 1 damage here, 2 damage on their turn. Like, it will kill us. But we're not winning a game in, like, 6, 7 more turns anyway. And this turn, they could play a land in Yawgmoth. They could play the... I'm just blanking on that stupid insect. As soon as I see it, I'll remember. It's been a long day. Slightly traumatic. But, you know, that's life for all of us these days. Power through. If you're a dad out there, I mean, you don't have to be a dad for the solidarity, but especially dads of toddlers, I love you. You can do it. Just be present, and you're doing okay. If you're not a dad, still love you. Keep doing your best. Oh man, I'd kill for a Baying Veil right here. We don't have it. It's not really necessary yet because we still have 2 more turns. But the bolting ourselves is hurting here. I still think it's the right play. What does this do again? Sack a creature, return it to its owner hand, return when about X activate as a sorcery. I don't know. It seems bad to let them have this. It's a value engine. They could like keep Orcish Bowmastering, I guess, to get a bigger army, or they do it to Yawgmoth to make that bigger. I don't know. Seems bad. Hey, we got the Baying Veil. I think we're gonna hold Disruption and Veil, but not bolt ourselves again to hold up Sink into Stupor. There is a chance that we want to play this 1/4 out to block, but I think if we do that and they just like Court of Calling or hard cast a Yawgmoth, that we're just in big trouble. So I think it's better to hold up our interaction. We pretty much have to draw our combo here. Can we survive another turn even if we do? I think we go ahead and Veil. And then, because they're not going to Cord, because they tapped all their creatures. So now we have Subtlety if they happen to play land plus Yawgmoth. Leaves us pretty empty-handed, and we pretty much have to draw. We have to draw it this turn. Oh, no Yawgmoth is good. So I'm debating whether I want to go to 6 to be able to actually cast the Subtlety, because it can block all this nonsense. If I go to 6, block one of these, I take 3, I go down to 3. If he has any removal, he's probably going to attack before he casts anything. The other option is play out Jawari Disruption. We hold up Sink into Stupor, and I can Subtlety exiling itself. We don't really have that much time either way. I'm going to do that one. Take 4, we go to 5. Risky business here. A young wolf. Resolves. End step. Question is, I can use this to get rid of the orc army. I also could bounce a young wolf to his hand. I get rid of the orc army and then I use Subtlety to block. Blocking the wolf makes him bigger, but I could kill off the Orcish Bowmaster, I guess. Killing things means they can copy it. I mean, I'm not going to play it out as a land anyway. I think we'll go ahead and do this. Do we draw a Belcher? No, force negation. I don't think we really can win from here, but we'll give her a go. Give her the old college try. Subtlety blocker with a force negation or subtlety backup. we'll try to kill off the halfling, I think. Again, Boardmaster, the only card that is relevant to is Preordain, which I'm not planning on casting. Although it does suck that it's essentially disabled, but I don't want to make the Yawgmoths bigger. Puts me to 2. Pretty close to dead here. They also can just make shifting woodlands like an endurance next turn. They're going to boseiju a land. Nothing I can do about that. That pretty much locks us out of the game. Because now I can't play an untapped land. Yeah. I can block one and die to the other 2. Cool. Concede. There's that Belcher, way down there. Why is my... Spread my sideboard out here. I do think Harbinger is pretty good in this matchup. Probably want a creature interaction. Commandeer isn't that great. Can hit that Nightmare. Can hit. They're good. Their non-creature spells are important to them, but they don't help us. I think we bring in our Stern Scoldings. Are a lot of their cards 2-drops? I don't think so. This is a matchup I'm not terribly familiar with. I'm going to look up typical list real quick. Is it even on the front page? No, of course not. We're not facing those decks. We're facing the deep cuts. Yawgmoth players have kind of like been around and been loyal to their deck for a long time, right? Typically. Yeah, they mostly have 1-drops. Their 2-drops are Wall of Roots, Bowmasters, and then 1 Cutthroat. It's Grist. That's that stupid Planeswalker. That's not a Planeswalker. I guess Rumble is also a 2-drop if they're playing that, and then Soul Cauldron. I don't think that's enough though. Stern Scolding literally hits. It hits Yawgmoth. I think it hits everything in their deck. Yeah, we're definitely gonna bring that in, except for like a big. Does it hit Grist? I don't know how Grist works on the stack. Is it a 1/1? Anyway, I think we want something like that. Forced negations are a little weak here. Again, their non-creatures are powerful, like Soul Cauldron, Rumble Calling, but I don't think it's good enough to keep in forces. They're probably bringing in maybe another boseiju against us. Thoughtseize is likely. I don't see anything else in here that really... Oh, Fulminator Mage. And they're probably going to try to loop Fulminators with that Nightmare card. So, as its name implies, it would be a nightmare for us. Shoal's pretty good for us. I brought in another Flood Mob, but maybe I don't want them all. Snapback's free sometimes. We could bring out a bloom, but I want to be fast. I think I'll go down 1 bloom. That's pretty good. I'm tempted to maybe do a Borrower for like Soul Cauldron. That's one reason to have this over Snapback. Because I have stuff, counter spells that can hit their creatures. A lot of people who play the deck go down on Lotus Blooms, and they're probably right, but I just feel bad doing it. This is a keepable hand. Like we said before, we don't necessarily mulligan entirely well. I'm going to not bolt myself this time because I actually, already have a win con in my hand. I have 4 lands in my hand, and we can cast some Preordains to get some interaction, but Bane Veil can also be interaction like we saw last game. No turn 1 play is great. No Thoughtseize. Bug attacking me over here. We'll Preordain first. Belcher. Snapback. I kind of want to actually top both. I like having a Belcher as insulation against Thoughtseize, and I like having the Snapback as some interaction. And because I didn't even have a turn 1 play, and because I haven't taken any damage, I'm going to go ahead and play out the Veil. Not worry about Preordain this turn because, like I said, I'm kind of insulating that Belcher to Thoughtseize. boseiju is a reason not to go for Belcher and go for the memory instead. Yeah, we let this resolve, obviously. What are they going to take? Ooh, they lost themselves another Rumble and a Chord, so that's nice. They took the Blooming Marsh. Can they actually select this? Oh, yeah, because it's a permanent card. Whether it's a I'm tempted to. Do we want to snapback this? Is that too aggressive? Let's pass the turn. No, we're drawing a Belcher. I think I am going to just stamp back this because he took the land. This just kills it. I'm going to play out a land. This time I'm going to shock myself because I am still at 20 and he has nothing in play. And cast this Preordain. The Bloom is too late now. The second memory is kind of irrelevant with the Belcher, so we'll bottom both. I was hoping to see a subtlety there, or even like a stern scolding or something, so we weren't just kind of naked here. What do we got going on here? Grist? Fulminator, yeah. Not ideal. If he follows us up with the Nightmare, this could be bad for us. I assume he aggressively goes after our lands. Yeah. So we hope to draw something that can interact with Nightmare. I guess we bolt ourselves to hold up Sink into Stupor specifically because I don't want to get locked out of the game to Nightmare. Puts us to 14, which isn't great, but if we can resolve memory, I don't think they have interaction for Cauldron. Means that if they get, they can exile the Fulminator and make anything into a Fulminator, right? I think we just go ahead and not let that resolve this turn. And then we go for memory, and then if they kill a land, as long as they don't kill 2+ lands. Wow, with got rid of 2 boseijus is nice. It resolves, unfortunately. Okay. So we're going to bolt ourselves again. I think it's still right to go for the memory win here. I'm trying to think of how this plays out. They can exile this and they can kill a land next turn. They can't do it twice, right? Creatures control with... If they had Yawgmoth, can they do it twice? I don't think they can. Even if they kill 2 lands, I can still Thassa's Oracle. They'd have to somehow kill 3, right? I play land this turn, right? I just played Seagate Reborn. Play Belcher out. I need 3 mana to activate, so Selective Memory is actually the safer play in terms of land destruction, and is safer if they have another boseiju. This is the fun part of playing this deck, and by fun I mean the worst part ever in the world. You'll notice I'm going to try to click every single card to start, including the Thassa's Oracle that I don't want to select. You might say, hey, why are you doing that? Well, young Padawan, MTGO is a terrible program, if you didn't know that already. The coding is older than me, and I'm almost as old as dirt, so... if you select all, this button changes, and so then you'll know that every single card is selected. I've lost a couple games to thinking that I only left Thassa's Oracle, and accidentally leaving an extra card, and then they destroy Thassa's Oracle in response to the trigger, and then I don't win. And once that happens a few times, you get really frustrated with this, outdated program and how, why is there no select all button? I don't know. Why is the only way that it tells you that a card selected is that it's highlighted in green, and then the green all meshes together, right? There's no way to tell it apart no matter how big you make it. The green is still kind of all one big line here in the middle, but not at the very top. Weird. And so right now, I'm getting close to where they're all, but right now it's not all selected. And so I gotta find the one. Some people say that this makes it easier. Yep, okay, we got a teachings that's not selected. No, we're still missing another one. You probably have already found it, but here I am, trying to click everyone. The Harbinger. Okay, so now there's no more non-land cards. Now I know if I click one and unselect Thassa's Oracle, that's the only card left in my deck. So then I click done. That's why you do it that way. It still takes forever. No matter how fast you click, the program doesn't catch up instantly. It's very frustrating. There might be a way, I don't know. I'm trying to think with if our opponent has Walking Ballista plus Yawgmoth. I mean, okay, you took my selected memory. I don't know why. That was the card we took. I'm trying to think of a way that he could just like make. Okay, there isn't a way that he could somehow kill more than 2 lands. So I'm tempted. Maybe the Soul Cauldron is worth bringing these in, but we do have like Shoal with a decent amount of 2-drops, 13 2-drops. Subtlety hits our creatures. Stern Scolding could have hit that Fulminator. Into the Floodmaw, bounces the Cauldron. Do I want to still keep in Blooms to try to be faster, or do I want to give my deck just more density? Probably more density. So now I have Spell Snare and the Floodmaws, and can bring in another Snapback. Or do I want? I'll do the Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower. Force is tempting, but I think that's best. We'll try it like this. Selective Memory is definitely our better win con just because they play. It's against any green deck, it's true because of boseiju. Especially taking out the Blooms, I'm not going to have 7 mana, most likely, so it's best to just go for a Selective Memory line. But we got a Belcher hand. This is keepable. It's kind of on the edge. 3 lands isn't ideal. We do have 1 untapped land, so we have to play our tapped lands out first. But we have interaction against early creatures. We'll see. Last game, obviously, they kept a hand where they didn't play out a bunch of 1-drops. This one they do. The question is, do I want to subtlety it or snap it back? I'm going to use the same cards. So he puts it on top of their deck or on bottom. So that's better than just snapping back in this instance. On top, interesting. I feel like on a turn 2-1 is not nearly as helpful. Play out our 1 black source here. Obviously we don't really use it as such. I guess I don't want to pass through the... maybe I'm just going to hardcast this snapback, honestly. Take 3 to hardcast it. The downside being then I can't Shellbreaker on 4. I haven't... If I drew another untapped land, I'd do that. Because this is the one downside of this not being blue either. So if I play this now and snap back, I do slow them down, which I want to do, but I risk not having an untapped source on turn 4. Though it is decently likely. How many do I have? 4, 7, 11 untapped sources. It's probably not worth the risk. No, it's not worth the risk. We're just going to pass. And we're going to hope that if we Charbelcher once and they boseiju it, we can get them with the second one maybe. We're kind of just crossing our fingers here. We interacted early, but we haven't drawn great. The second teachings and the second Belcher are not exactly what we wanted to see. This is a Grist. It is Grist. Create 1/1 black instant, mill a card. Sacrifice to hit a creature, or it's just value at this point. We have to play this out because we need our untapped on turn 4, so this is getting played out. The upside is now we can snap back something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they make a token and play a land, 6, 7, then they can chord for Yawgmoth, and like once it's in play, snapping it back, they can just draw a bunch of, not a bunch, but they'll be able to draw like 3 cards at least in response. I guess I have the subtlety, so subtlety doesn't hit chord is the point. So do I want to snap back or hold up subtlety? Question is, do I think they're going to hard cast? It doesn't matter that it becomes uncounterable with Delighted Halfling. Subtlety can still hit it because it doesn't counter. Do I think they have a Yawgmoth in their hand, or do I think they have chord in their hand? If I think they have chord, it's best to just snap back now when they can only chord for 2. I'm gonna risk that they have Yawg in their hand. Hope they have Yawg. It seems unlikely based on this line. They might have neither. They might just be trying to play out like a fulminator right now. Seems like it. Smells like a fulminator. This is better that we did not use our snapback aggressively. It's also nice this doesn't get put in the graveyard where like Soul Cauldron can hit it or whatever. They have to draw it next turn, so it sets it back a whole turn. Which gives us the turn to play our Charbelcher, and then they have to somehow kill 2 of our lands for us to not be able to activate it, and we have to not top deck 1, which we still have the chance to do. Taking some damage, but we're still at 20, so. You've seen the power of the deck, like we have interaction. We are fairly consistent. We'll see how this does. We know they have fulminators, so they already can put us down to 3 lands. Possibly less. So we just hope. They also could still combo this turn. Question mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they could chord plus cast and Undying, right? Well, that's not a good start. That likely means Yawgmoth is coming down. I don't have like the combo. Phyrexian Tower's out. Second insect for 2. Yep. Here comes. Oh. Weird to do that mid cast. Like mid creating mana to cast the Wall of Roots. Here's Yawgmoth. Okay. They get to draw cards. Can they still cast? They already played a land and used Wall of Roots, so they can't cast Fulminator this turn. But they get to draw cards, so they can get a boseiju. Boseiju or Belcher, I assume, is their line. Young Wolf means they get 2 more draws, right? Or is it infinite draws? Do they need 2 Young Wolves for infinite draws, or just the 1? Just 1 Young Wolf. They don't have infinite draws. They have as many draws as they have life, but they were still at 20 life, so they could draw a lot of cards, and they can activate boseiju for 1 mana. We know they have a fulminator in their hand, so if they boseiju this Charbelcher, our second one, I don't know. It might just be dead. Because if they draw enough cards, they're just going to have the combo next turn. But to somehow fade there, we saw like 2 or 3 boseiju. Oh no, they're courting for 1. I thought they needed a 2-drop to go infinite. Do they have a 1-drop? No, just another. This doesn't go infinite. It draws infinite, but it doesn't gain them life or drain us. They need the cutthroat to kill us. They passed the turn. Wonder if that was on purpose? Question mark? We won. Okay. I'm really confused. I thought they can just keep killing the 1 Young Wolf to keep drawing cards, and instead he courted for another Young Wolf? Like, what was the goal there? Couldn't he just draw like 10 more cards and then eventually hit a boseiju? I don't know. But we did it. We got there. Woohoo! I don't know that I have enough time for another match just yet. I'm not going to risk it because I don't want to have to leave halfway through, especially because I'm recording. But that was a fun back and forth match. I'll try to record the next couple as well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please interact. Like, subscribe, all those things, you know. We all know the drill. But hope you're all having a great day.